had a certain something.
And he would talk about it all the time. I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to be somebody.
Tommy would play the drums 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
When he got on his drum set, it was like electricity.
When Vince was on stage, he was a very different person. The girls loved him.
Mick didn't have a dime to his name, but once I heard him play, it was turn out the lights. This guy's just got it.
When did you first realize a wedge starting to be placed amongst the team?
Wow, you know, it's tough thinking back about that because, like, we had all those times where we just together, like, we just wanted to piss people off. You know, we were a band gathered together just to make, like, rowdy sounds. And so thinking about that, I think some of it was Nikki, some of it was Vince, some of it was me. I think there was some trust there where people were just not, like, in it for everyone else. And I think, you know, that and just committing ourselves to each other was really a difficult thing for us. Once, you know, you're there to make sounds, you're there to do drugs, you're there to do a lot of the other stuff that you want to do and have, you know, really rambunctious time. But I think we lost track of, like, being there for each other in a way. We all had side projects, and this thing had kind of morphed in a lot of ways out of control.
Think about, like, the hardest decisions that we had to make. You know, I think about when Vince goes out and he starts to become a bit of a tank, right? He starts thinking about his own interest, and he starts pushing and driving in a way that the rest of us weren't headed. And, you know, he's getting into race cars, he's drinking too much, we're having to drag him out of bed at noon to get to the studio. You know, if you're not committed and you're not in there, it's easy to make the decision. You know, we knew where we needed to be, and Vince wasn't getting there. That's where we brought it up with him. You know, it took time for us to get together and just put it on the line and say, this is what we have to do.
One goal relentlessly.
They wanted to be the biggest band in the world, and they knew they could do it.
Through struggles.
Nicky just could not keep a beat.
He wasn't a musician.
They had no food.
They were just living off of whoever will help them out at the time.
And setbacks.
Bob Krasnow said Elektra is not really interested in selling music to people who live in the gutter.
They were just a joke.
Some people are just driven.
What would you say is the main reason you guys were drawn to each other?
So, you know, I have this theory about people, and there's helicopters and there's tanks. And you think about it, you know, a tank is just in the bullshit. It's just in the ground level, and it can see right in front of it, you know, and then it just drives off a cliff. But a helicopter, it sees the whole battlefield, and it's got the end in sight. And you know, think about us, and we were a squadron of helicopters. We knew where we wanted to go. And, you know, we were just like the normal Black Hawk helicopters. We had, you know, skulls, crossbones on the side, but we flew right where we needed to go. And that's it. We didn't want to work with musicians that weren't focused on that end result and just weren't, you know, they weren't willing to live the life, you know, to get there.
So what drove you guys to success?
Ultimately, each other. You know, when you think about it, we each brought something different to the table. You know, Tommy and his vision of how he wanted to play the drums. Vince, you know, he knew he had the style, he had the look. Mick, you know, brought the experience with him. And then, you know, I'd bring it together. You know, I brought everybody together, and ultimately it was us having that shared vision of knowing clearly we didn't want to just be a band. We didn't want to play music. We wanted to be rock stars. And that's where we kind of, you know, that's where we put our mission and went after that.
What do you think the single most important event was that brought Motley Crue together?
Man, we were touring in LA in all these little clubs. And, you know, you'd have a sound guy, you'd have a room, you'd have 100 or 300 people. when you're out in front of 200,000 people at the US Festival, and that's like our first real gig out, and for us to have sucked like we did, I mean, that just, like, I think it drove us all back into the studio to say, hey guys, we can do this and we can kick some ass, but like, never again. You know, we weren't going to have that kind of thing happen. No, having that stage in front of us and to act like we did, I think it put a fire in everybody's belly, and we wanted to prove to the world that we could seriously kick some ass. I think it's a fine line because, like, this guy, like, he couldn't play at all until he came into our band, but he could write, and like we noticed that. So like then it became the executives saying, "Look, your guys' stuff sucks, and we don't sell records to people who live in the gutter." And so like we kind of said, you know what? Screw you. We're going to write what we think speaks to us, and we think there's a market for that. And, you know, I've been upside down a few times in a drum cage. So, like, I may not have all my brain cells, but I know I can sell some records if I speak to somebody's heart about something. So, like, creatively, he had it, you know?
Yeah. You know, I coded out in a dumpster. You know, you think about the challenges that, you know, that puts on you. I did it, you know, not once, but 6 times, you know, and just tearing, you know, yeah, it's just, it also inspired me. Right. You know, I mean, that's part of it. I think like some of the best work was, you know, some of the personal stuff that we put each other through.
You ready for number 7?
Let's do it.
All right.
What would you say is the band's greatest accomplishment?
You could say it's, you know, we won an AMA for Dr. Feelgood. You could say it's getting, you know, accolades through publications in the industry. You could say it's the millions of records, but I think it's creating a solid group of fans that like coalesced around us as a group when we didn't know in the 80s if that was going to happen. So I'd say that's the achievement right there.
When you guys started having success, you had that really fast fame. So on the opposite side of that, though, how do you feel like that fast fame had a negative impact on the band?
You know, in my 20s, I had just about done everything that I'd ever wanted to do. And I think it's tough to like keep up at that pace. And for me, you know, I get pulled in directions. You know, Mick was kind of the old man of the group in a way and like helped kind of usher us together. But I felt like as we aged and we had all kind of done the things that we wanted to do, I think we got distanced and sidetracked a little bit by that. And, you know, I'm married to a beautiful wife. I've got 2 young kids. I want to spend time with them. I want to be around them. I want to go out on our boat. I want to, you know, I got things I want to do. So I think there's some detriments to success in a way. Like it pulls you from what you may ultimately want to be. You know, it's like a vice. There's so much pressure. There's a lot of misconceptions about what that's like. We may have glasses on, but we're not posers. So like we're going to be in what we're doing. And music lives here. It doesn't live up here. It doesn't live in your wallet. It lives here. And this guy writes from here. So we knew we were going to have a market just based on there's a lot of other people that had lives like us growing up and they wanted a voice. So this guy gave him a voice. We gave him a beat. Mick gave him a rhythm. And yeah.
4 rebellious rockers' defiant pursuit of superstardom.
Nikki Sixx had a plan for world domination.
They weren't going to give up until they got what they wanted.